Hey, it's Natasha.
And Khalil.
And we are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 156th episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. This week we are discussing what are the numbers that matter the most. But before we dive deep into that subject, we have your favorite time of the day, which is Tasha Monologue. Because when am I not just talking to myself?
I got your number, miss.
Nice. Touche. Nice. So with that, if you have gone to WokeNFree.com and you've downloaded the episode through the Podbean app, we adore you. We love you. You're amazing. Hello. Thank you. That's one of the greatest way to show support for the show. But B, it's how you join the conversation. You have to have the app so that you can add in your comments. And then when you put in your comments, we can talk to you. And it's a conversation. So amazing. So yay, if you've done that. Next, if you're like, listen, Tosh, Khalil, we love you. We need you. We want you. But I don't need another app on my phone right now. It is what it is. You know, we will cry at night, but make sure you're subscribed and following the show on whatever platform you're catching this on. So we're on like 30 plus platforms. Feel free to listen to us on Spotify, on iTunes, on iHeartRadio, on SoundCloud, like everywhere, guys. Just go to WokeNFree.com, go to the listen tab, and you can find all the places that we're at. And there, then just make sure you're subscribed and follow on each of the platforms you're catching this on. Next, when it comes to kind of talking and sharing this out, why is that important? If you love us, then you will share this content out. That's how you make the conversation bigger and as broad as possible. So friends, family, when it comes to social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, at WokeNFree, you can share there. You can chat with us there. And then, of course, if you have 90 seconds, I mean, who doesn't? We still are in the middle of COVID. Get your life. Give us a review, guys. Review the show on iTunes. We've gotten some wonderful feedback on iTunes recently. 5-star reviews. Thank you. Gracias. Yes. And definitely give us your reviews of whatever platforms that you can review the show on, which would be the platforms you catch the show on. So with that, I think it's time to end the scene. What do you think?
That'd be a great idea.
Bored enough.
No, I was so excited. I didn't want to have too much of it. Can't have too much fun.
Not too much fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you know what we usually do after that scene. We talk a little bit about us.
I had something else in my mind, but sure.
No, it's the same thing. It's every week, except for story time weeks. But
hey, let's keep it. Keep it for the show, guys.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. All I know is that we have a question we ask each week about us, and we did have that romantic story time. Oh. So maybe you're like referring to that, possibly. I don't know.
I think romance is a good word. What
I think is that I think the WokeNFree Nation wants us to ask another question about us.
Yeah.
And we're asking it for them. They may have not wanted this to be asked, but this is what came up. Mm-hmm. Now, this is kind of a scenario, actually. So there's no time to duck. Would you rather get hit with a snowball or a pie?
Why do you even ask these questions?
You know, so do you think I come up with these questions? That's the first thing.
No, it's from a book I got.
No, it's actually not. It's from something else I actually get it from.
Oh, okay.
That does polls.
It's really awful. I hope it burned down.
So I'm not going to even mention the name of what it is then, because that would not be good. I can't mention the name because that's what you said is going to make some people real sad, because this is what they do. They write down these ideas for every day.
Oh, I so apologize.
You say all that.
I don't know if you were asking maybe like theoretical questions regarding ideology or something of significance, but we go from bugs to jelly beans to, now we're talking about...
These are nice things to know, though. Yeah, because if somebody was your best friend, they'd want to know, do I hit you with a snowball or some sort of pie?
My best friend would know the answer.
And that's what you're helping build. You can build your best friend now.
Fine.
These things add up. Sometimes the questions are good, too.
Yeah, once every 10. Yeah.
There's a lot of goodies in there.
if there's no time to duck, what do I want? Snowball or pie? I'd probably go for the pie, and hopefully it would be a delicious pie, and the gluten wouldn't kill me, but that's where I go with that one. And you?
Mine would be, it would actually depend on the situation. So if it was outdoors and there was a lot of people around, I'll go with the snowball. But if it's indoors and no one's around, I'm definitely doing the pie. Okay. Because then I can eat the pie later.
Exactly.
But I just wouldn't want to be embarrassed with the pie in my face outside. So that's me. True.
That makes sense.
But snowball or pies, doesn't really matter how many are being thrown, right?
Nice transition there, sir.
Yes, I do try.
Okay.
Try as I might. What numbers matter the most? Okay.
Fail on the rhyme, but I appreciate the effort. Thank you.
I was going to say try my oh my.
Oh my.
That's what I was going to say. That would have just went off on a tangent.
Gotcha. So I started to watch, I'm not finished yet, but I started watching The Black Godfather on Netflix. I know I'm behind. Don't judge, guys. But this is a documentary about a very powerful black man in media in Hollywood. His name is Clarence Avant, and he said something that I think really struck a nerve or a chord with me. And he said something along the lines of life is really all about the numbers from the beginning to the end. It's just a different number that matters. And so when he said, kind of, you think about if you convert your life into numbers and what are the numbers that matter most, I said, we have to bring this to WokeNFree Nation because this is an interesting conversation. And so what are the numbers that I think matter the most? For me would be the date you're born, because I'm big into the zodiac and astrology. If you guys are following us on TikTok, I have content there, and then generally on our Facebook and just generally, I'm just all about the astrology stuff. And then of course the date you die, because then that number is significant in how many years you had on this planet and how many years you were able to impact and influence this world. I would say also the amount of times you were grateful for something during the day or grateful for someone during the day. I think those are things that you should count as blessings, and being very cognizant of that number makes you even more grateful. I would say the amount of times you are proud of yourself and your actions is another number that matters most. Also, how many times you love yourself, like said something loving and appreciative of yourself every single day. How many times were you happy in a day? That I think is an important number, because if that number isn't what you want it to be, then again, it forces you to get real with yourself and to make changes, because as Tony Robbins taught us, life isn't happening to us, but for us. So hop to it. And then of course, how many times you are in love with your loved ones in a day. I think again, it's similar to
how many times you were in love?
Yeah, like you are in love, you're happy, you're pleased, things like that. Like just similar to the gratitude thing, but more on a love bit. So like kind of like we talked about in a previous episode about love, our 21 questions about love. Falling in love and being in love, it it's kind of actions and choices, and then thinking about the active choice of loving someone and how many times you're grateful and happy with that love in a day, I think is an important number to have in mind. But I'm dying to hear, sir. What are your answers?
My answers are so much different than yours. It's like we're talking about a different episode.
Of course.
They're a lot different. Of course. But one is kind of similar to your first ones, and that's the one mine knows specific, and some people might be mad, and that's age. I know they say age is nothing but a number.
It is.
But to me, it's like a compass kind of for your life, meaning it's kind of guiding you on where you should be headed at this point in your life. So I think age is important because, well, it has to be important because it's like when you're a 3-year-old, you're not a 50-year-old, right? There's a difference, and you can't even, there's no like denying that. People might say, oh, that old person is just as good as the young person, but you're at different stages of your life in terms of knowledge and career and all sorts of other things. I don't think that's
the reference point. It's usually like, I think in the romantic sense, right? And it's kind of like, he's 40, like she's 34.
All right, it's like that then, right?
And in that context.
Oh, but you know what they do too? No, but they do it even in terms of like, oh, you might age out of something. So
or that
they do
too,
that.
Exactly.
Some people get mad about those things.
Or We don't
but it's still important.
It's a little dark, but statutory rape situation.
Yeah, it's the age. It is definitely an important number. There's laws that
ramifications.
Laws are wrapped around it. So
when is the majority age? 18. You
see all that. Just by
voting,
being binding in law,
anything.
we know that age is an important number. Like either way, no one can lie about that.
Yeah.
It's definitely important when you can drive.
You just don't want it to be
so
used
much
against you. I think is the
that's we don't like that. Yeah, but it is an important number. That's what I like to point out. And then I would say the atomic clock is it's a physical item, but the number on it's important because it's the most accurate. It's the most accurate clock in the world, and it's it's an accurate type of clock in the world, and it's how we adjust all of our clocks, like that are land based, are all based off. I don't know where this one is, but there's one atomic clock that we have in the U.S. and everything is based around that, and that's how we keep accurate track of time. Because if you have multiple clocks, I mean, you probably notice that your clocks go out of sync.
Yeah.
Your phones are actually syncing up with this atomic clock, so that's why our phones are pretty accurate in your computers. But yeah, atomic clock is it's a number. It's all it's doing is counting numbers. Anyway, it's literally just a counter. It just counts up.
Okay.
So I don't know what the number's at, but you just translate that into
time.
The time that we see, but it's counting in like nanoseconds or something like that. Nice. Something crazy. But that's important numbers. Binary numbers are important. I don't know if people know what that is.
Explain it.
Binary numbers are how our machines function. It's the language that computers actually speak.
So 0, 1, 1, 0, 1.
So the easiest way to think about it is 0 and 1 are the binary numbers. I'm not going to go into like too much detail on it, but 0 can be thought of like no, and 1 can be thought of like yes. Mm-hmm. And I think like no matter where you go, that's kind of important. Yes, no, yes, no.
Correct.
That's how machines are working. Yes, no, yes, no. That's how you can build off of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are really important. This one is good. Game controllers, because if you only have one game controller, how are you going to play with your partner?
So the amount of gotcha.
So that's why the Switch is so great. You always have 2 game controllers on you.
And you were not giving a plug to that.
No, I don't want to, but it's built in. I had to bring that up.
Okay.
I have to. I think that the number of animals surrounding you is important just because I don't know, it's interesting to have. So
you're saying having more than one is key?
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's an important number. I'm not saying good or bad. You can have 0, you can have 1, you can have 2. But I think it makes you a different person.
Either number.
Yeah, I think it says something about you, how many animals are around you. So 0 definitely says something about you. Mm-hmm. 1 says something about you.
25,000.
And 56. Yep. That definitely, it says a lot about you.
Fair enough.
Another important things are stars in the universe, because that just tells us, I guess, if the universe is still viable, expanding, or if it's dying. So I think stars in the universe are important. Mm-hmm. And we do count that. That's being counted. Age of your solar system star. So our sun's age, that number is important too. Because eventually it's going to swallow up all the planets. So you want to know if you're near that end of your lifetime.
Clearly you're feeling really upbeat right now.
Hey, I mentioned game controllers. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, nerdied out a bit much, but sure.
Oh, all right, if you say so.
Now, to flip the script, what are the numbers that don't matter at all?
This is gonna make some people mad, but I think the zeros in your checking account don't matter at all. Because some people rely on that way too much, and they want to show you, look at how big this bank balance is.
You can have $10 million and have $5 the next day.
And remember, we talk about it's not based off anything.
Well,
it's
yes,
just it's fake numbers.
These are all constructions of math.
We just decided this is what the count is. It's not like this is based on this. Nope, this is the count. That's what it is. And yeah, remember, it can change really fast either way, right? Mm-hmm. I think another one people try to put a lot of emphasis on is number of friends. And I don't think the number of friends matters. I think it's the quality of friends. So it's quality over quantity is what I say for friends. And then a good one is weight. I think weight is kind of overrated. So you don't have to be you could get too stuck up in the numbers, and it's a waste of time.
Interesting. Okay. I like that list for sure. I would definitely concur on the weight situation as someone who's been plus size pretty much since I was 6 years old. I think people use weight against you, whether you're thin or big, and it drives people crazy. It drives people to do self-harm, and this is just, it's inconsequential, like you mentioned. So I completely agree with that. Next, I would say how many times you get married or divorced, which I know sometimes you have commentary on that. However, I think that we as society are super judgmental, and as people heard earlier in my list, I am a bit of a hopeless romantic. So I think that you should be entitled to fall in love as many times as you want.
That's good.
And that number shouldn't be held against you. So for
That's
people,
okay.
I believe like Elizabeth Taylor maybe had like tons of wedding or marriages.
That's a problem.
Stuff well, that's your judgment. And that's,
what does it say? Because to me, it's kind of like you're just treating marriage like nothing. It's inconsequential.
Either way, the conversation you're going to have from it is all coming from a place of judgment. And so,
it is definitely.
And so I disagree with that approach to life. I'm saying that people should have the freedom to do what they want to do.
Without judgment, they'll just be like, she got married 30 times, but she's still a smart decision maker when it comes to love.
Obviously, you're being super judgy in that moment, so that's on you. But next, I would suggest a number that doesn't matter, which would be how many kids you have. Again, super judgmental. People get judged for having one child or 13.
Oh, they definitely do, yeah.
And again, I would like to use our platform and whatever momentum we have in this world to help people move away from a place of judgment. And again, guys, I'm a Virgo. We are queens and kings of judgment. And I'm just gotten so sick and tired of the judgment because it's enough. Enough is enough is enough. Judge me when you're perfect. Guess what? You'll never be perfect. So stay in your lane and sit down because it is what it is. People want to have no children. People want to have 20 children. Let people live and let live. I really am tired of it. Now, another number would be measurements of your body. Now, for men, I'm talking about the size of your package. You guys sometimes can get so concerned about the girth, the width, the length, all of that jazz. It is what it is. It's not just about the size of your tool, but it's also how you use it. So men, move away from that. Stop judging yourself. Stop judging others.
But you'd have to say women to stop judging that
as
too.
well.
Because that's the biggest reason.
Stop judging. Men, again, regardless of the tool dimensions, can learn to be the lover that you need them to be if you guys are open to those conversations and tantric stuff.
Yeah, I think this is
so I think that's something.
This is a judgy. I think this is about a judgy thing because women are quick to judge.
Absolutely.
Men aren't going to really judge you. They just get upset if they learn.
I've been judgmental about that as well. Yeah. And it's not appropriate and it's not nice and it's painful. And I regret when I did that. And so I hope that other people as well can not because it really can like totally demoralize a man. And it's really unfortunate. So just move on from that, guys.
It's judgy.
Same thing with women. Listen, our boob size, our waist, our hip measurements, all of that, thighs, cellulite measurements, all of those things are inconsequential. At the end of the day, when you're in your coffin or if you're turned into dust, no one's going to be like, she had the perfect 34 double D breast. No one's going to say that unless maybe you're in the porn industry, maybe. But outside of that, I think we have to move on from that. Similar to you, I also think the amount of money you have in your bank is inconsequential. Focus on how you're using the money and what you're doing with it and how you're making an impact and how you're providing for yourself and the ones you care for, not necessarily the amount. That is not does not speak to the kind of character or person you are in this world. And then also another one I would like to throw out is social media stats, because at the end of the day, good content isn't just attached to X amount of followers and X amount of likes and X amount of follows. I've done content around that idea. And I think that I just always want to perpetuate that. You can have a great following of 30 people who actually buy your things or do what you want, as opposed to having 10 million people who 5 million of them are bots. I mean, we've talked about that before on the show as well. So just like not letting social media stats reign over you and create a situation where you have anxiety and you feel less valuable and less worthy in this world. Heck no. Yeah,
that's a good one. The last one you mentioned. Why do folks focus on numbers that don't matter at all?
So I think a part of this is the conditioning that we have from our society. Like in our mainstream conversations, are we seeing people encourage people not to be attached to numbers, or are we seeing them emphasizing it through subtle cues, through nonverbal cues? We see media helping people to talk about body weight loss. And it's important. You and I have both lost weight this summer and we're proud of that. But is that the defining part of like why we're valuable in this world? Absolutely not. It's a stage. It's something that we're going through, but we constantly are inundated with numbers that don't matter. So social media likes, this person just got 10 million viral views. It's
everything's about viral now. Huge numbers.
Virality. We're talking about weight loss.
Big numbers.
Endless. We're talking about how much money someone made. We're talking like how
many cars you have,
how many cars you have, how many shoes you have, how many wives, how many women you slept with,
how many square footage you have.
So yeah, square footage. We talk. We in our society, in our media, in our world, just are constantly inundated with the numbers that don't matter the most. So that's I think why people get fixated on it, because it's kind of like you know what you know, and that's all that we know in our society.
I just think the topic itself, like, I guess you heard it in that Netflix thing, but I never really considered the topic, to be honest. And I haven't seen media that's addressed why do people even talk about numbers. So I think just the idea itself isn't being talked about. So that it's kind of like now we're just left flailing because we're not told, that number doesn't matter. We're never given a hint about that. And we're just given hints about what media wants to talk about, but it's never said, does it matter? Does it not matter? Because just because it's shown doesn't mean it actually is important. And just because people talk about it, it might just be a passing of the time, or they don't know what else to do. It's like it could be filler.
Sure.
So
very true.
That's the thing with the focus on the wrong numbers, is if you have no guidance, what else are you going to do but focus on the wrong things?
Exactly.
That's how I think, at least. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time, guys. Scenario 1. Thurman and Marv are wrestlers trying to improve their chances of winning by wrestling in lower weight classes. Since weight is not a number that truly matters, should they focus on the pounds they are trying to shed, or just disappoint their coach and ignore the weight?
Oh, wow. That's a really interesting question, because it's kind of making you think about the numbers that matter and versus that don't matter, and then the significance and impact of that number in their lives. Oh, that's interesting. So, it's a bit of a quandary, right? So in life, in theory, we both actually agree that weight does not matter, but there is, like we were talking about with like age and legal significance, there are certain circumstances in our lives where your weight has implication for what you do in either your hobby, your career, etc. So in this case, because they're actually wrestlers, your weight is a part of your sportsmanship. And so it matters within that industry, but does it matter in the greater scheme of their lives? No, but it does matter for them trying to be effective wrestlers. And if they would be more effective by going into a lower weight class, then weight loss is something that they would have to focus their attention on. They would have to spend time doing. And if they wanted to do it, otherwise, I wouldn't necessarily say disappoint their coach, but they would have to confront their coach and say that at this time, they're not interested in doing that, which whether they disappoint their coach is out of their hands. So it is what it is, but they have to make that decision for themselves. Do I think they should? I don't know enough about wrestling. I don't know enough about what the cost will be upon them trying to lose weight. Is it in a short time period and it's kind of an unhealthy situation, or is it a longer path that they have to work towards? I don't know what the runway is there. So I'm left not knowing necessarily if I agree with the decision, but I would say in this circumstance, their weight will matter for the wrestling industry that they're a part of, not their lives as a whole.
All right. I think that, the weight is important here, but only if wrestling truly matters to them is what I say. They got to decide because if they're just doing wrestling because somebody told them to do it, and they don't want to go through like the dieting that's involved with getting to that specific weight, then maybe don't do it then and disappoint. You don't think the coach is going to be disappointed if they don't lose the weight. I know that, but they got to just decide, do we really want to be wrestlers? I mean, are we going to make a thing out of this? Are we going to do this in college to get like the scholarships? If you're doing that, then maybe you're going to struggle. Maybe you can't have the carbs, then you're going to have to do it. But in this case, it really depends on what they want to do. Are they in it to win it? Because they're going to need to lose the weight no matter what if they're going to wrestle.
What's interesting is, at least from my perspective, when I think back on my life and I think about when I was 17 going off to college, did I even really know, was I in touch with who I am to be able to decide whether something really mattered to me? And I think, to be honest, I would say the answer was no. I was not as in touch with myself as I am now. So to ask them that question, is wrestling really important to you? Right? I don't know if they would actually, unfortunately, know that answer. So that's also why parents usually just step in and they're like, you don't know. But it's because we condition children to not know themselves well and to take leadership and guidance from others. So they're never relying on themselves because there's all these other people telling them what to do.
Yeah.
So
it's an issue.
Hopefully they're in touch with themselves to know whether at this point in the game wrestling is important enough to them. That's a hard one. That's interesting.
My advice is if you're gonna keep wrestling, you lose the weight. If not, you quit. That's what I would
kind of walk away from it.
Yeah, they got to walk away from the sport actually because it's very weight biased.
And the same thing with boxing as well. Too.
Yep, yeah. There's a couple of sports that are like that where your weight does actually matter. In this case, it's the rubric, all right. So that's how it is. Scenario 2: Hattie is a very accomplished person with a few degrees in various fields and was once a candidate for a Nobel Science Prize. She doesn't feel she is enough, though, because her bank account does not match some of her less accomplished colleagues. Is she focusing on the right numbers?
I totally understand your inspiration for that scenario, and you're hilarious.
No, you didn't. That's so wrong of you, too. I would
say, in this scenario, I totally understand, again, Virgo Nation, guys, right? So... as someone I would say who's accomplished a lot in my life at this point, do I also struggle with feeling like I could do more, that I could have more, of course, I think that that's a very normal human condition. And I think that the association with finance with it is only because there are great things that you can do when you have a lot of money. It's not always about like the Benjamins and the this and then that you want to buy a bunch of stuff, but it's also you can do really great community work. You can really change lives with funds and money. And so she is definitely not focusing on the right thing because she is associating success with a measurement of just financial standing, and that is not holistic enough, because if she's been a nomination, if she could have a Nobel Peace Prize or whatever, and she has all these accreditations and probably other accomplishments that can't be mentioned in this hypothetical, she probably is doing the damn thing, and she should be really, again, focusing on the gratitude of like, wow, I've done this and I'm only X age, and wow, I've done this with no help, or wow, all the things that she's done, as opposed to a tit for tat as to like, I did this and I earned this, because that kind of comparison is A, the comparison game is always a losing proposition, but B, you're going to drive yourself nuts as someone who's had to like, stop overthinking and stop over analyzing on certain numbers that don't matter. I would encourage this hypothetical woman to also do the same, because it will not make you happy, and happiness is the key to really being successful in life. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, that was the question I would have is she actually happy? I would think that's one of the first things that everyone should kind of think about.
Yeah.
Am I happy at this point, or will I be happy? That needs to be thought about, because if she's saying I'm not happy now, but I did all these accomplishments, I've had a great journey, but I'm not happy, then why were you doing all this stuff then if that's not making you happy? I think you need to be doing what makes you happy. Yeah. And then the numbers don't matter. The money doesn't matter, because look, you're happy, you're enjoying yourself. And then the number I think she should focus on, since she's so accomplished, is how many people has she touched? So how many people are affected by her accomplishments? Yes. I think that's amazing to know that whatever my bank account is, who cares? Look how many people have been affected by these inventions or whatever research I've been doing. I think that's the number to focus on, because that's amazing. If you could touch, a ton of people, that's
even one
really
person.
Good.
I've, in my career,
even if you touch one too, that counts.
Absolutely. I've been fortunate to have several people send messages and voicemails and communication about how I've impacted or changed their lives. And that is such an incredible blessing. To be able to impact just one person's life is remarkable reciprocal. So we need to, I love that you said that, because if you touch one person's life, you like, woo, you're hitting heaven status, guys. But if you can do more, then you're really changing the world. Yeah. And that is, there's nothing more paramount than that. So
advancing the human race. So
exactly.
That's definitely something to be proud of.
Definitely.
Scenario 3. Artem thinks every number means something. When at a restaurant, he leaves if there are 13 items on the menu. It could even be a multiple of 13, and Artem will check out. Is Artem focusing on the right numbers?
Well, that's a really interesting question, because we didn't even talk about like superstitions and the connection between numbers there, right? There are, there's certain
people
numbers
read into numbers
or like 666 or
oh yeah, we didn't
3
say that.
And
does
13,
that matter?
like, do those numbers matter or not? Obviously,
Lucky
they
sevens,
don't matter.
that kind
they
of thing.
obviously
Does it
don't
mean
matter
anything?
to us because they didn't come up in our list. I would say
You're right about that.
Which is interesting, because I wouldn't say that I'm not superstitious, but I would also say that, like, again, guys, if you listen to the show, you're funny. If you listen to the show, you know what my possibility is, which is what my motto is, which is anything is possible. So is it possible that there are quirky things attached to certain numbers in life? Yeah, it's possible. Do I live by that and adhere to that in my life? No, definitely not. So in this case, in this scenario here, he's really fixated on probably superstition and the attachment to certain numbers, especially this one here of 13 and even the duplicate of 13, which is interesting.
Yeah, because you know how people do those number games. They say, "Oh, well, you can get to 13 because you divide this by 2.
I do that.
You add the 1,
I do that with
and then look, it's the same. Or look, it says 31, but if you look at it upside down,
it's 13,
so you say all that stuff. You do all this manipulation.
So I would say the bigger thing here is to really dive in with Artem's the root of why he's so obsessed with this number 13. Is it on his 13th birthday, he lost his mother? Was it that he has had his heart broken 13 times? He realized that if he adheres to this, that he thinks that he's gonna win big on the lotto. Like, what is the reason and the root behind the obsession and the association with the number 13? If he can get to that, then from there, then I think I would be able to better advise him. But automatically, even if I didn't have that information, I would say, Artem, get it together. It's just a number. It's just a number, boo. We're going to be okay. Yeah. And you're going to have to live through this, and you're just going to have to sit, because it could have good food. Stop playing around. Get your life. Get your life. For someone who doesn't eat out a lot, I miss eating out and dining out. So that pisses me off. The idea that he's missing out on good food here. There could be appetizers. What the heck are you talking about, sir? Yeah. Get your life. So, Artem, get it together, but then also dive deep a little bit. Try to understand what's going on with this number 13. And is this also, maybe watch that movie, or was that 26 with Jim Carrey? Yeah. I think it was 26.
Yeah, he was doing
he was obsessed and had the numbers everywhere. It was wild.
He had to keep writing numbers down,
But just get it together. There's good food to be had.
Yeah, so I like to throw a monkey wrench in Artem's plan, because what about when they have like the soup of the day menu or something, and that adds to the rest of the items, or or if they don't show you the dessert menu and it's kind of like he started eating, what does he do now? Does he pay and leave and say, "Oh, I messed up"? So like, see, that doesn't make sense. You can't even, too wild, because it's about like how you count it too. Because this is what I'm telling you, how people like to manipulate numbers. Because what if he doesn't count dessert items and it works out? So it's weird.
Like,
or that item is actually
the soda off, and then we were good.
Or it's like, what if they're out of that item for the night? We ran out,
and then technically they don't. Yeah, that's interesting.
And we're not even offering it at this point, so it doesn't make sense. But people do that with numbers. They'll get so like into it and say, "This is what this means. This is why the revolution was started." They were trying to hint to this, and it's kind of like, to me, it's you're going down that conspiracy theory path where
it gets wild,
where you're just like, you're making a guess and you're basing your life off of it, and that's not what you should be doing.
Just eat the food, man.
Yeah, you went to a restaurant, eat the food. Was it good? I mean, it was good. Then you're good.
Recommended on Yelp.
don't leave before you taste the food. I mean, just because there's this weird thing in your head about numbers, I think that's something you gotta like rationalize. Is this number does this really mean anything? I don't think so.
I would say it would probably be more meaningful if you were walking around and seeing a consistent word or something. Like if you saw a store and you saw this, like, I don't know, if you saw this word freedom, say freedom, and then you're leaving a job and you start a new job and the name of that company is Freedom or their logo is Freedom. Like if you kept seeing a word throughout your life, like consistently, I would say that's probably more interesting and there might be more ties, but it could be argued.
That could be anything. That could just be freedom came up once and now I'm fixated on it.
And then you're telling the universe to keep delivering more messages of freedom to you. So you could be self-promulgating it for sure.
Yeah, you could be, because people do that. Because remember, we can seek out things too. We can look in clouds and see faces. You see Jesus in toast.
That's why we always see 86 because we love that number.
I know, we see it. Because if we actually look at that number, because we would think that 86 is everywhere, but some people might say that 90 is everywhere. 1990, they might. I mean, I don't know. I don't look for that. It seems like 86 is common.
Everywhere because we're promulgating it.
But I mean, it's from us, right? If we were born a different year, we'd find the other years they mentioned. So these numbers, come on, let's focus on the right ones.
And eat the good food, guys. Let's stop playing games. And with that, we are at that time again. It is coming to the end of our 156th episode of WokeNFree. Never gonna get that quite right, huh?
Next time, I think we'll have it.
Yeah, on the 1056th episode.
Yeah, it'll be excelente by then.
Muy bueno. So this was quite the episode discussing what numbers matter the most. Will we leave you hanging for what our next episode will be about? Drum roll, please.
On our next episode, we'll be discussing what is a dream. Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along in the conversation. And make sure you tune in next week for WokeNFree Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please submit a topic for an upcoming episode or share how you feel with us on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That is WokenFree.com. Shout out to all the people who have been in touch with us because we have some really interesting guests lined up before the end of this year. So if you want to make it in, it's tight, but we might have room. But of course, 2021 will be here. COVID is not taking us out, guys. So get on the bandwagon and hit us up. Now, when it comes to social media, you can always feel free to actively find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, TikTok at WokeNFree. And then, of course, if you're interested in any collaboration, sponsorships, it's redundant, but I like to hear myself talk. Hit us up on our Contact Us page at WokenFree.com.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do. Share the episode and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for WokenFree Wednesdays. Remember, WokenFree is more than a podcast. It is a way of life. Until next time.
Focus on the right numbers.